Hello friends, welcome back to Tech Byte series Software Testing Concepts for Beginners. In this session, we are trying to learn about test planning. So what is software test planning? So software test planning is an activity documenting the scope of the testing as well as the different types of activities performed as part of testing. So in the software test plan, basically it contains scope, approach, resources, schedules of the testing and types of testing, and the risk analysis, entry and exit criteria, roles and responsibilities, test deliverables, test environment, and then tools. Before we go deep dive into individual components of the test plan, let's try to understand at a high level what is test plan versus test strategy. So this test plan and test strategy, there is a slight difference between test plan and test strategy. So test plan document is derived or it is documented based on the system or functional requirements which were given by the end user, the customer. Whereas and the test plan is documented by the test lead, and the test plan is a base document to start testing. Whereas when it comes to the test strategy, it is a static document and it is generated based on the business requirements document. So either BA or the test lead will create this document, and this test strategy is a static document which describes the approach of the testing. So now let's try to understand in little bit detail about the test planning. As we said, the scope. So what is scope? It is basically when the functional requirements are given by the end user or the customer for development. So we identify what is in scope for testing out of the document and what is out of scope. So these things will be documented as part of the test plan and then followed by the approach. So what are the different types of testing techniques will be used? Will be used as part of the testing, basically depending on the functionality and depending on the different systems involved. Okay, what kind of approach we need to take, what kind of technique we need to use to test testing, and the sequence of different test modules. Say for example, if there are 10 modules integrated, so we identify based on the data flow which module has to be tested first and which module integrated integration can be tested with the other module. So that is identified as part of our approach. When it comes to the resources, yes, these resources could be software, hardware, or even the testers. So when it says software, okay, what are the different softwares we need to use and what are the different hardwares we need to use. Say for example, if there for any application we are testing, again we have to test with different browsers, so we need to identify what are the different browsers. And if you have to test against different hardwares like Windows machine or even Mac, Apple Mac, so these are all the different hardwares we need to identify, and the testers, how many testing resources we need to use, we are using to complete the testing of this application. These are all identified as part of the test planning. And when it comes to the schedule, yes, on which date we are going to start testing and what is the ETA to complete testing. If it involves different modules and it involves different levels of testing, and if it involves testing in different environments, okay, when we start, these are all like intermediate milestones in when we have to start testing and which environment, and when we have to complete the testing. So this is as part of the schedule. Let's see then the types of testing. So what are all the different types of testings we will be performing as part of this application? As we discussed in our previous session, we have different types of software testing, right? So we may not be able to perform each and every testing type as part of the application, but we need to identify which type of testing which we need to identify which type of testing we will be performing as part of this application. We need to document that in the test plan, and then followed by risk analysis. So as part of any software application, we need to identify if there is any risk anticipated in the course of testing or in the course of software development. Once the risk is identified, we need to plan for the mitigation. So what is the mitigation plan to eradicate the risk? So this is as part of the risk analysis. And then entry and exit criteria. So entry criteria is when to start testing. That means, so before we accept the application for testing, do we, if we are performing any build verification test or a smoke test, something we need to identify. Okay, if in the smoke test pass, then only we identify, then only we take the build for testing. Otherwise we'll reject the build and the developer has to go and fix that. So these are the things called documented as part of the entry criteria. When it comes to the exit criteria, we need to identify, okay, if the application has certain number of bugs, if we think we cannot proceed further testing, we need to document, okay, this is the time where we have to stop testing. And also, when we say by end of the testing, if there are all the defects are closed, we are fine. Otherwise, if there are any defects, we need to identify what is the level of defects we can still keep open and continue with the production, or else what is any low severity defects which are accepted, which are low risk, they can be kept open and we can move to the next development, we can move to production development. All these are identified as part of the exit criteria and this will be documented in the test plan. And when it comes to the roles and responsibilities, we will be identifying who are all the different resources available as part of the project and what are their roles and what are their responsibilities, who will be performing what kind of activities, who will be responsible to resolve any issues or challenges as part of the application testing. So this is called roles and responsibilities and this has to be documented as part of the test plan. And then the test environments. So we need to identify all different environments available and we need to identify what are all the environments, non-production environments we have to perform testing. So these things has to be documented as part of the test environments. And when it comes to the test deliverables, yes, what are the things we need to deliver as part of our testing? Those are test plan, test cases, requirements traceability matrix, test execution report, defect report, and test summary report. And then finally, tools. What are all the different tools we'll be using? A test management tool, which can be HPALM, or it could be VSTS, it could be Zira, or it could be anything. So based on the different kind of organization, different organizations use different tools. So what are the available, we need to identify what are the available test management tools and which tool we'll be using as part of our application. And apart from this test management tools, we need to identify if there are any other tools required for perform testing. Let's take, if there is any database involved in the testing, we need to identify how we are going to connect. Are we going to use any tool? How we are going to connect to the database? Or else if there is an API testing or something is there, are we using any tools? Are we using any open source tools? Are we using any proprietary tools? Any project specific tools we have to use? All these things have to be identified as part of the test planning. So with this, we'll conclude today's session for the test planning and then we'll go deep dive into the next testing life cycle. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Please share your comments. If you like the video, please comment. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.